Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're going to give a moment for people to come on here and join us before we get into the meat of the program here, but we're about to make an announcement. We've got Midge Rosebrook here from the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame, and he's got some big announcements for us, and we're just going to give a minute or two for the people to join us. While we're doing that, any kind of thoughts or recaps as to the big Vintage Snowmobile show that we had last weekend at Crane Snowmobile Museum?
I think it was a very successful outing for us. The day was perfect. It was cloudy early and quite cold, but when the sun came out mid-afternoon, it couldn't have been better. I think you'll have to agree that we had a beautiful mixture of sleds this year. Best in show was a Boland's Husky. Believe it or not, I told the guy when I took one look at that machine, I told him that he had a great chance of winning best in show with that sled. It was perfection, tenfold for something that old. And it's tough to get parts for some of those type sleds because they didn't make a lot of them, and but that thing was perfect, and I didn't influence the judges. I didn't talk to the judges. We had three judges: Bruce Boravage and Greg. No, it wasn't Greg. Who else was it there? It was
Bud Gordon.
Yeah, Bud Gordon and John. I can't think of his last name, but he stepped in. He had a sled there too, a couple sleds.
Oh, nice.
But, yeah, they just took one look at that machine and they agreed. Yeah. And
sure. While we're talking,
Dave Stroud took a couple of trophies home with his Arctic Cats, and it was a great day.
It truly was. While we're talking here, I'm searching for an image of that sled. I don't know if it's going to happen here in the next moment, but I'll continue to search a little later. And if I find it before the end of this podcast, I'll pop it on the screen so everyone can enjoy what a beautiful sled that was.
Yeah.
But it looks like we've got some people in the room here to hear what this announcement is. And if you are just joining us, we've got Midge Rosebrook here from the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame, and he has an announcement.
Everyone.
Yes, he has an announcement for us. Go ahead, Midge.
Yeah, Mike and I got together this morning to announce 2022 inductees. We have 5 more inductees for 2022. It's of course, as you know, we've posted them on the Crane Snowmobile Museum's website for the last 2-3 weeks, and you can go over there and read the bios and check things out. But we thought it would be kind of cool to do it live, and Mike has been very helpful in this podcast business. That I don't have anything. I have no knowledge of what we're doing here. He popped me on this screen, and here I am. I'm an old mechanic, and that just got an interest in showing what we did back 50 years ago in snowmobile racing, and just enjoyed showing the people that were involved in racing back then, and showcasing them on a wall. It's just been a dream of mine to get these guys recognized for what they did, and it's part of our history, and so I think it's a great idea to get this done before we get too old. It should have been done 30 years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you want to start, Mike, we can do our first inductee.
All right, we're talking about Larry.
Yeah, let's do Larry.
Let me pop that image on the screen. Yes, please.
All right,
go ahead.
There's Larry Biermann. He's a New York racer. He is the one of only 2 people that in the East that won #1 gold bib 2 years in a row. He won it in the first year of USSA racing. 68, 69. He won his first gold bib, and then he did it again in, I believe, 73, 74. And because I'm looking at this plaque right here that I have in front of me. He won the Pennsylvania State Championship. He was High Point man in Weedsport Speedway in Weedsport, New York for 72 and 73. He cleaned house at Coudersport, Pennsylvania in 1973, winning Mod 2, Mod 4, Mod 5, and 340 stock. Won home with over $4,000 and still holds the average speed record on this half-mile track in Mod 4 and Mod 5. I think the only other person that got 2 number 1 gold bibs in their career was, oh boy, his name just, I think it was, help me out, Mike.
It wasn't Herb Yancey, was
Brad
it?
Hewlings.
Brad
Hewlings is the only other guy with 2 number 1 gold bibs.
Sure.
So, and Larry was actually offered a ride for the Alouette factory team by Gilles Villeneuve in 1974, but he decided to become a USSA director. And that's what he did for 74 and 75. Now, to tell you how good this guy was, Herb Yancey, who was probably, without a doubt, probably the best Eastern snowmobile racer that we've had. I mean, his record is just it was unbelievable for a 30-year stretch of racing in Herb Yancey. And he's in the Hall of Fame out in the Midwest as well as in the East. So, and Herb Yancey told us that Larry Biermann was the guy to beat back then in racing. So,
nice.
Yeah, it's nice to get Larry in. And I talked with Larry a while ago on the phone, and he's in Florida, but he's coming up for his induction next September 10th there. So it'd be great to meet him. And this is a great photo, I think, that we have of him. This is what he sent us. And it's a pretty nice, pretty cool photo. But Larry Biermann, definitely on top of the list to be here in the Hall of Fame.
For sure.
And our next racer, if you want to pop him up, is Anthony Butch Consolini.
All right.
There he is right there. And he raced, Butch raced for Tri-State Power sled team, a Skidoo distributor from Lee, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And he raced on a team basically in Mod 1 and Mod 2, but he did do some racing in the higher classes, but mostly in Mod 1, and he just about cleaned up. He was the guy to beat in Mod 1 and Mod 2, definitely.
Yeah.
Won the Governor's Cup in Massachusetts a couple times. And he was High Point man. He and Bob Martin tied for high points at Loudon at the Laconia International. And he was third in points for the Eastern Division in 1970. Totally unbeaten in Mod 1 for many years. Yeah, the only guy that I think that may have been close to him in those smaller classes was maybe Bob Fortin.
Sure.
They were swapping, wins back and forth at that time.
Yeah.
Not always racing at the same events, but
yeah.
And so anyway, this is Butch, and he's got the Kilkenny Cup, and his name is on that. Easton racing back then, the name Consolini was always on top of the leaderboard. So
nice.
Yeah, we need to get Butch in here.
For sure. And if you're
And
just
I
joining
mean,
us,
he could have been a stand-in for Frankie Avalon.
oh yeah, for sure.
The guy is, you know, he, he's a pretty handsome little Italian.
Right, for sure.
So yeah,
Now, for the people who are just joining us, I just wanted to say that we've got Midge Rosebrook on here, and we're talking about the inductees for the 2022 Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. We'll be having that induction ceremony this fall. In fact, I'm going to pop a graphic on the screen before we get into the rest of them, just to give people an invitation. This is the when, the where, and the how. September 10th, 2022. The ceremony starts at 1:30, but I like to tell people to arrive for 1 p.m. because number one, you're bringing your own lawn chairs, so you want to have a little time to stake out a good spot. And then before the ceremony, you want some time to go into the Crane Snowmobile Museum. There's over 100 sleds in there. You want to make sure you've got some time to go in there and take a look at everything. There's a lot to see in there. There's also a corner of the museum devoted to the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. And then, of course, the ceremony starts at 1:30 p.m. And yeah, so it begins. But yeah, I'll land it back to you, Midge. I just wanted to give a shout out in case people are just joining us. But by all means, tell us who our next contestant is.
yeah. The next person we're inducting in 2022 is Ronnie Weemut. He was a dealer, skidoo dealer from Massachusetts. And he won the very first Adirondack Cup in 1966. Actually, he was a motor ski dealer then.
Yeah.
When he won the Adirondack Cup, but he was also a skidoo dealer, and he raced for Tri-State Distributors also. And he had when he went out to California, I think it was. Happened to notice that these little Yamaha snowmobiles out there. He got very interested in the Yamaha snowmobile, and Ronnie was instrumental in getting the Yamaha to New England.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he took on the dealership for Yamaha.
Yeah.
And he actually helped design the suspensions on those early Yamahas. They didn't have very good flotation in snow.
Yeah.
So he had a machine shop, and he actually redesigned the sled for on the suspension end of it in his machine shop for Yamaha.
Wow, that's
And
impressive.
then he raced for the Yamaha factory.
Yeah.
For a number of years, and he did very well. He won the Massachusetts State Championship in 1969, and he was here at Lancaster. I remember when Yamaha cleaned up in 1971. I think they took like first 4 places in Mod 3 with that 433 Yamaha engine.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was instrumental in actually fabricating parts and things for other companies as well.
Yeah.
With his machine shop, and he's still going strong. We met Ronnie here last year at our 2021 induction.
We did, yes.
Yeah, he came up, and I met him briefly, and no, he's quite a guy, and he's in his 80s now, but he's still going strong.
Yeah, he appeared to be in good health.
Very good health, and we're going to get him back here September 10th this year, and we're going to put Ronnie Weemut on the wall. So
wonderful.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, big instrumental guy for Yamaha.
Yeah,
he got him on the map out here, and when you want to think about it, Yamaha is only one of the 4 companies left.
Yeah,
of the snowmobile companies. So
yeah, that's true, isn't it?
And he had a hand in helping that happen. So
yeah.
And the next guy,
before you pivot to that, now that I think of that, had he not been instrumental in that, Yamaha may not have been one of the survivors.
Absolutely.
He could be very well given credit for the reason for why they survived today.
Absolutely.
For sure. I didn't mean to cut you off there. Please continue your thought.
Because, well, and when you stop and think about it, look at all the companies that were well established
Yeah.
many years before Yamaha even showed up on the market.
Yeah.
Yamaha didn't show up until 68, I think, 68, 69, maybe,
Yeah.
out here in the East. And Polaris had been around since 1954. Attic Cat been around since early 60s.
Yeah.
Of course, Skidoo
And even
and
companies with deep
Motor
pockets,
Ski.
pulled the plug on their snowmobile program. Kawasaki, Massey Ferguson, John Deere.
Yeah, John Deere.
Yeah.
Yeah, who would have thought a billion-dollar company like John Deere couldn't make a snowmobile? But
Yeah.
yeah, they just they dropped out one by one, and Yamaha are still here. And thanks to Ronnie's work on that is definitely one of the reasons why.
Yeah. Because he would have been
Yeah,
involved with that at about the time all of the attrition was happening.
yeah,
So it's quite possible he was can be credited for that.
oh
Absolutely.
yeah, well definitely, yeah, and he pushed it hard.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, quite a gentleman. So yeah, our next inductee is James Soule.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, right there. He was a Polaris guy early. Probably one of my heroes, other than maybe Bob Eastman and Conrad Rollins.
Yeah.
As far as Polaris goes, in Lewis Lund
Hmm.
was James Soule. Never met the man, but he was in all of the racing magazines back then. They dubbed him the Flying Farmer from
Hmm.
Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
and rightly so. He got more points than anybody in history in 1971 on his hot Polaris Starfires.
Nice.
And so yeah, of course, me being a Polaris guy, he was one of my early heroes back then.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was named Driver of the Year in 1971 and presented a trophy by Bob Eastman himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, but his I mean, I could sit here and read off his record, but I don't know if we'd have time enough. he
Right.
just
Right.
he just plain cleaned up in about every class he entered back then.
Nice. That's amazing.
And so and I talked to Jim, probably 3 or 4 years ago on the phone.
Yeah.
And busy man still. He is a grape farmer, and he sells grapes to like Welch's, I guess, and places like that for
Oh yeah.
grape juice. Yeah,
Nice.
and so he's still busy doing that, and hopefully we can get him up here next fall so I can meet my hero.
Yeah.
Definitely, but he raced up until, let me see right here. Yeah, he raced until age 60, if you can believe it.
60. Yeah.
He came out of retirement in 1994, winning several more races on Snow Jets and Attic Cats. He changed brands,
Yeah.
but then
We
he
won't hold that
retired.
against him, right?
You can't hold that against him. Then he retired again in 2006 at age 60. And what a guy.
That's a heck of a run.
Heck of a run.
Yeah, that's
So
amazing.
yeah, he's going to be on our wall for sure.
Yeah, that's cool.
The great Jim Soule. Yeah, it was an amazing time back then. There was so much interest in snowmobile racing because everybody had 3 sleds sitting in their yard. Most everybody. They started out with one machine, then the wife had to have one. Well, then that first sled got handed down to the kids.
Yes.
Pretty soon now we got three sleds,
It's
and
true.
and maybe 4.
Yeah.
Maybe the husband had to have a newer one.
Sure.
But it was such a great time back then. If you look at any of the old early photos of snowmobile racing and you looked at the crowds
Yeah.
that they had, 10,000 people packing some of these little fairground tracks.
In the middle of winter.
Standing out in the cold for 2 days, and you don't see that today.
No, you sure don't.
Not that there isn't interest in snowmobiling. I mean, I guess there always will be, but
Sure.
it was a brand new sport.
Yeah.
It was a brand new
We'll
sport.
never see excitement like that again.
You'll never see that again. You
Yeah.
had what, 10 or 15 top factory teams, sponsoring teams out there racing against one another. And the technology just was crazy back then. People were coming up with new designs and
Yeah.
and new ways to solve problems and everything.
It was an arms race.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
now it all sugars down to just 4 manufacturers. But
Yeah.
I'm glad we lived it and saw everything happen. Everything unfolded during
Sure.
our generation, Mike. It was fun.
For sure. Now you've got
Yeah.
a story that you told me a while back that I really enjoy. I wonder if you could tell that again. It was about the time when the Arctic Cat team was late. You know the story I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah, yeah. Yeah. It was at the Grand Prix. I'm going to say it was probably 1970, 71, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
The officials at the Grand Prix track waited and waited, and they held things up. It was supposed to start at 8 o'clock, I think, for some of the qualifyings, and the Arctic Cat team, the tractor trailer hadn't shown up yet, so they held things up. And Bob Clark said they got on the CB radio to try to find out where the Arctic Cat trailer was. And they finally got him. They finally got the driver on the CB. And they said, "Where are you?" Well, he says, "I'm stuck." And they said, "Stuck? Stuck where?" He said, "I'm stuck down in the intersection of Route 2 and Route 3 here at Lancaster's Main Street. The traffic going to the racetrack is so heavy, nobody's letting me in." And I'm sitting here waiting for an opening, and nobody's letting me in. So they had to dispatch a state trooper cruiser,
Yeah.
a police cruiser down, and they escorted Arctic Cat's tractor trailer up the left-hand side of the road all the way up to the fairgrounds so they could get that event going.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I told Claude Hebert, the guy that broke the telephone pole off in
Yeah.
1969.
Yeah.
I said you should have got contingency money for for that 1970 or 71 event. I said that's what brought people back to the racetrack.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway,
But that
I
really
think
does
that will
illustrate the demand and how exciting that was. There was so many people coming to these races.
yeah,
That
yeah,
story really illustrates that.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it was an exciting time for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can do our final, our fifth inductee,
Yes. Tim?
Tim White.
All right. Let me pop that graphic up. There we go.
It's Tim White. Tim was a friend of mine growing up. He used to hang around my uncle's golf station, and he used to come in all the time. He used to have a bunch of hot cars. Tim used to like to tinker up, mostly Chevrolets. He was a Chevrolet guy early on.
Yeah.
And but during the wintertime, he put on a different hat, and that was of a snowmobile racer.
Yeah.
And he was one of the best in this area for sure, Tim White.
Nice.
He raced for Roberts Motors Skidoo team. Roberts Motors started selling Skidoo, I believe, in 1963 for the 64 model.
Yeah.
I think they were one of the very early Skidoo dealers that Timberland Machines set up as a dealer.
Yeah.
They were a big Chevrolet garage. They sold Chevrolet, Buick, and such, GMC, the GM dealer, and probably the biggest Chevy dealer in the area.
Yeah.
And the people that owned Roberts Motors was Butch and Johnny Roberts, two brothers that owned the dealership after their dad passed away. And they were great snowmobilers, and they used to race as well. But it was Tim that was the star of the show.
Yes.
When he was racing for them. Anyway, that he passed away in 19 I mean, 2012, I think it was
2012. Yeah,
2012, Tim passed away.
sure.
And he didn't see the 50th Grand Prix reunion. He and my friend Mike Beatty and some of the others passed away. Bill Buckland passed away about that same time.
Yeah.
And so it's a tough thing. He was a good friend of mine.
Yes.
But he won a bunch of races back then with, believe it or not, a little 247 single cylinder Skidoo.
Yeah.
And the engine was modified by Cassidy, who worked for Roberts Motors at the time.
Mm.
And yeah, he, I'm just at a loss for words because I just I can't can't talk right now because of this. Uh, it's a great loss for me. I went to school with Tim,
Yes.
and but yeah, he just about dominated everything back then with that
Nice.
Skidoo. And
Nice.
then he was hired by Timberland Machines in 1970
Mm-hmm.
and raced with Bob Fortin, and you could see the big T on his
Yes.
jacket
The
right there.
Timberland logo there. Yes.
Yeah, they took because Timberland was always good about having team photos done every
Mhm.
year,
Yeah.
and Bob Bottoms was instrumental, really, in showcasing that team. And a lot of other teams didn't do this, but the reason why we have such great photos of Timberland drivers is because of Bob Bottoms. He made sure that a professional photographer had these guys sit down and have their photo taken every year. So this is a nice photo of Tim.
Yeah. That's a good shot
And
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, and you can tell it's a professionally done shot the way the pose is and everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
they did
The
that with
helmet and the
everybody.
strap.
The one with Bobby Martin and Bob Fortin, holding the helmet and things like
Mhm.
that. It's pretty classy.
Yeah.
It was a pretty classy outfit, Timberland Machines. You don't get to race for Timberlands unless you're the best.
Nice. Yeah.
It just they couldn't waste their time on somebody that wasn't good. So
Yeah.
uh, Timmy was one of the best, and I'm glad to get him in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's gonna be
he
nice.
won. He was the only guy to win the Kawartha Cup
Hmm.
and the Bourbon Cup all in the same weekend.
In the same weekend. Wow.
Yeah, down in Laconia. So yeah, and then he won in 1969. He cleaned up at Bangor.
Hmm.
He was beating 399 twin Skidoos with that little 247.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was an unbelievable feat
Yeah.
because he only weighed probably um, probably what they say, probably weighed 115, 120 pounds at the time.
Sure.
So he didn't weigh very much, and gosh, that thing would fly.
Wow. That really gave it an advantage.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
he
That's
did.
cool. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, so that's it. That's our five candidates for this year.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you so
Yeah,
much for that. And
yeah,
for the people who are just joining us, we've been talking with Midge Rosebrook from the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. We're talking about the inductees who are going to be inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame at the upcoming ceremony this fall. And that is a good reason to pop the graphic on the screen. September the 10th, Saturday, September the 10th, 2022. Now the ceremony starts at 1:30 p.m., but I've got 1 p.m. here because you want to arrive a little bit early with your lawn chair to stake out a spot. You also want to allow yourself some time to go into Crane's Snowmobile Museum and look around. There's over 100 sleds in there. There's also a corner of the museum devoted to the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. You do not want to miss that. And it's also a time to mix and mingle with the inductees, past, present, and future, and just have a great time with fellow enthusiasts of vintage snowmobiles and snowmobile racing.
yeah, yeah. I might want to add too that Paul Crane has gone out to the Whiteout
Yes,
in New York with Ed Stab
yes,
this weekend. So that's where Paul is.
nice.
He goes to the Whiteout every year. and
Good.
he stayed over, I guess, at Ed Stabb's house.
Oh, nice.
Ed,
Yeah,
as everyone knows, is one of the premier promoters of the sport of snowmobile racing in New England,
absolutely. Yeah, one of the biggest
and
promoters of the
vintage
East.
shows. He's done a ton of vintage shows, and
Yeah.
and Ed is one of our inductees. He's in the Hall of Fame, and he's still going strong. He's
Yes.
had some health issues, but that's not stopping Ed Stabb.
No.
And so that's where Paul is. He's out in New York this weekend. So
Well, good. Yeah, I hope they're having a good time. And yeah, and
yeah,
Ed, I've met Ed numerous times. He's a great guy.
absolutely,
One of the top promoters of the East for sure, without question.
absolutely. We,
Yeah.
back in 2013, I guess it was the fall of 2013, we were at Shane Beatty's house. We were tearing our hair out as to who we could have put on the 50th reunion of the Grand Prix. We had run the Grand Prix up until 1977, but everybody that did that race back then were either too old or they were gone,
Yeah.
And so we needed somebody to maybe help us put on the show. And thank goodness we found Ed Stabb. And one evening we talked to Ed via a telephone. We had it on speaker in the middle of the table at the meeting. And Ed agreed to come help us out. And he brought his whole staff. All he wanted was 3 rooms at the motel, which we provided, and he did that show for us for free.
Wow, that's
Ed
amazing.
Stabb.
That's the
Yeah.
kind of guy he is.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
he loves racing.
Yeah.
He loves it.
That's cool.
And he didn't charge us anything. He traveled over 6.5 hours from Boonville, New York, brought a flagman, brought all the technical staff. Gosh, how can you beat that?
Yeah,
He
that's amazing.
just did it because of the sport.
Yeah, and it was nice for the Lancaster organization too, because you didn't have to reinvent the wheel. They've got a system for doing this, and they just came and executed that system, and you didn't have to reinvent everything and
That's
rethink
right.
everything, only to find out that maybe you got it wrong. This should have gone there, and vice versa.
Yeah,
They know
yeah,
how to set it up, and you just get out of their way and let them do it.
yeah. We did, and we built the track. Shane Beatty built the track and the facility to do it, and Ed Stabb brought his expertise, and it was quite. I think you went, didn't you, Mike?
Yes,
Or it
yes,
was a total success. We had probably 4,000 or 5,000 people there for that weekend,
yeah, that was
and I
amazing.
think we had like 100 entries of sleds, top sleds
Yeah,
from New York and all over the region.
sure.
And it was all because of Ed, and it just wouldn't have been as successful without him. So
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure,
yeah. So
for
that's
sure. We'll have to message him that we did a name drop for him on this program. We'll have to send
yeah,
him a copy of this so he can see it.
yeah. That'd be cool. Yeah,
In fact, one more thought about Ed Stabb. He was hoping to join us last weekend for the Cranes Snowmobile Show, and
couldn't make it
unfortunately,
because of the storm.
yeah, the weather was bad the day before, so I don't blame him for not daring to venture
No,
out into that.
no.
But, hopefully next year we can catch up with him. And he usually attends the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. So if anyone would like to meet this gentleman, he is usually there, and he's a great guy to hang out with and talk to
Yeah.
and visit with, and just a
Ed
super guy.
mentioned about coming to the last snow derby that they're going to have. I think it's February 27th. This in Lancaster here. There's a gentleman that's always wanted to look at Paul's museum, and so Ed thought he would bring this guy, his friend, to go over the museum,
Yep.
and also take that race in, and maybe
Okay.
stay over. So he's
Yeah.
thinking about doing that too. So
Good.
yeah, in a couple weeks.
That's the nice thing about events in Lancaster is you can take in the event and the museum, kind of a
Yeah,
1-2 punch, so to speak.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Stay at the Lancaster Motel,
absolutely. In
right,
fact, that's
Mike?
a good cue to pop the graphic. Our dear friends at the Lancaster Motel. In fact, if you're planning to attend any of these events, especially the induction ceremony, the Lancaster Motel is the place to stay. It's just a short walk down the street from Crane Snowmobile Museum, and the after party is held there as well. So if you want to attend that after party, you can stay there as long as you like. And once the after party winds down, you're just a few short steps from your room. And I'm going to pop their contact information on the screen. If you are considering joining us for the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame induction ceremony, September 10th, you want to book your room right now, because this event sells out the motel sells it to capacity every year for that event. So if you're thinking about joining us and staying at the Lancaster Motel, please call now and make your reservations. Also, there's plenty of snow right now. If you want to do some trail riding and combine that with some history, there's tons of history in Lancaster. It's a great way to combine history with some Eastern trail riding. Again, it's just a few steps from the Crane Snowmobile Museum, so you can kind of include that as part of your outing. It's just a wonderful place. And once we're finished here, Midge, I've got a quick video, an interview with the owners of the Lancaster Motel, so we can get to know them a little bit and hear their on what they're doing there with the museum.
By the way, their son Mark helped out at the Snow Derby a couple weeks ago.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, he was up there. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So no, there's no family that's more involved in boosting snowmobiling than the Biermanns at the Lancaster Motel. Brian and Ruby, they called me up. Ruby called up, I don't know, 3 months ago. She said, Midge, can you get a snowmobile down here for us to put in the lobby for this winter? We want to show a snowmobile. And Greg Allen, who was on our board, one of our board members, brought up an original 1978 Polaris RXL.
Yeah, I bet that looks good in there.
And it's in the lobby now. So yeah, if you do get a room at the Lancaster Motel, you'll be able to check out an original RXL. This is not a clone.
Sure.
This is
your
the
camera
real thing. So
bring your camera for a Kodak moment. Get a photo of yourself taken next to it.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's true. They've been very supportive of everything that we do as far as the Hall of Fame and all of the racing activities and everything going on in Lancaster pertaining to the snowmobile. They're right in the middle of it and helping and supportive, and they're always there. And
they sell T-shirts for the club, for the Snowdrifters. By the way, the Snowdrifters are the oldest snowmobile club in America.
Yes.
Established in 1964. And they help us out by selling T-shirts and such, and advertising for us, and it's been crazy how good they are for us.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a good point you make. The first snowmobile club in America is based in Lancaster, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So if you want to ride those legacy trails, some of the first organized trails in America, you can access those trails right from your door at the Lancaster Motel.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Just so much history associated with that. If you're into vintage snowmobile history or racing history or any of that, there's no better place to combine some trail riding with a vacation that has to do with the history of the snowmobile.
Yeah. And the motel rooms have been totally renovated.
Yes, they've renovated the whole place. Everything's modern and up to date.
Beautiful Art Deco motel.
It is.
If you want to be taken back into the 1950s, that's the place to stay.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's crazy, beautiful place.
In fact, I'm going to do a quick shout out to them. I've got a clip that's a shout out to the Lancaster Motel, and then once on the other side of that clip, we'll chat for a minute and we'll play that interview with the owners of the Lancaster Motel. Let's roll that.
Yeah, sure.
I'd like to give a quick shout out to our friends at the historic Lancaster Motel in Lancaster, New Hampshire. The Lancaster Motel has been serving snowmobilers since the 60s, and they are the perfect eastern trail riding destination for snowmobilers young and old. The Lancaster Motel is right on Corridor Trail 5 in Lancaster, New Hampshire, with plenty of parking for vehicles, sleds, and trailers. Plus, the Lancaster Motel is within walking distance of Crane's Snowmobile Museum, plus restaurants, shopping, entertainment, and more. Click the link in the description to learn more about the Lancaster Motel. Yeah, there you have it. And you can see some of those renovated rooms in that clip there.
Yeah. And by the way, the Lancaster Motel was the headquarters of the Grand Prix.
Yes.
Back in the 60s and 70s.
Yes.
When the Grand Prix was probably one of the largest snowmobile racing events in the East.
Yeah. And they used to have the award ceremony in their lobby. And
that's where it all happened.
And a lot of
That's
the
where
heavy hitters, like
the drivers stayed there.
Bob Eastman and Gilles Villeneuve stay there, and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Some two-stroke engines probably got rebuilt in some of those rooms.
yes,
They used to take the engines off at night and take them into rooms to rebuild them. So if you
yeah,
smell a little bit of a
two-stroke,
little bit of two-stroke oil somewhere, probably not now because they've totally renovated the rooms, but
sure,
that's what they did. Yeah.
yeah, that's amazing. Well,
Uh,
the spirit is still there, and
they
that's the
raced
cool thing.
handlebar to handlebar all day and drank elbow to elbow at the bar all night. That's what they
Yes.
used to do. So.
And that's the nice thing too about the Biermanns is they bought the hotel a few years ago, the motel, I should say, and they understand and appreciate all of this history that we've been talking about, and they're completely committed to keeping it alive, carrying it forward, and just something that we can all enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so, yeah, unless there's anything else we wanted to talk about today, we'll close out the this podcast with a quick interview with our friends, the Biermanns, who own the.
Thank you,
Lancaster
Mike, for
Motel.
everything.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you as well. This is a
All
lot
right.
of fun. All right. Have a nice weekend.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
We're sort of at the southern end of the trail system. And what's great about this property is it is on the trail system. In other words, you can park your rig outside your door here at this property, get on it in the morning and take off. You're on quarter 5. You don't
Right
have
on
to
the trail.
get to quarter 5. You're on it.
Exactly.
And in addition to that, the configuration of the motel, which you can see, has the parking for the snow machines, for the trailers, for their trucks. That patio is opened up. It's all available for them to park right pretty much in front of their door.
Yeah.
In addition to that, we made sure that we were noted on the trail map system as a parking location. So even if you're not staying here, you can park your rig here and take off.
Nice.
We also have room out back, a pretty good sized field that can probably accommodate, I don't know, maybe 10 machines, 10 rigs. And that's an area that we park their snow machine, trailers, and so on, and they can stay there, either if they're guests of ours for multiple days, or if they're just going to park and ride and then load up and go back home. So we have a way to accommodate probably, I mean, my competition, they're good people, but they don't have the parking capability. They're not on the trail. So we are really set up for the snowmobiling.
Yeah.
Plus, we have some other options to, I think, accommodate those folks that really want to make a season of snow machining, in that we have a number of rooms that are available as seasonals,
Yeah.
in that we can, person can make this their condo or their camp. They have a camp in the North Country. Basically, you rent the room for the month, it's your room.
Yeah.
Or through the season, but I mean, a month at a time, it's your room. You bring up all your stuff, all your equipment, all your clothes, keep it in the room. Throughout the week, it's there. You get off work Thursday night, you get in your car, drive up here, bam, and start. So, you don't have to hook up and pull your equipment and unload. It's all here.
Yeah.
So it's just an option. That's not going to work for everybody. But there are some people who will find that to be a quick and easy way to have their own property in the North Country.
Yeah, for the right person, that's a really
Yeah.
good situation.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we have a number of rooms that are set up for seasonals. We have the parking, we have the space, we're on the quarter 5, and most importantly, Ruby and I love snow cheaters.
Nice.
We had our first season
Yeah.
in this hospitality industry last year, and they were our favorite group. They've got great energy. They're out in the day having a good time, and they come back and maybe a
Tell you
little
about
bit of circus water, and they can tell you the stories,
Yes.
and it's fantastic. So we had a good time with those groups, and we had a couple of groups that came twice throughout the season, and we're all friends now.
Right.
Nice.
Well, and the thing about this property, first of all, for me, historically, this is the epicenter of Lancaster.
Yeah.
And a lot of these fellows that, and women that were here today actually stayed here back in the day.
Yeah.
And so we're just trying to give that back to the community, and the snowmobilers allow us to do that because this is like ground zero for
sure.
snowmobiling.
Right.
So we feel like we should be an intimate part of that.
Yeah.
So that we're reaching out to them in any way we can, making it part of our
Reciprocal
family.
situation.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Right.
And they can walk. They can walk to town, and our downtown is up and coming, and they can walk to things, and they don't have to.
Right.
They don't have to, drive down the street or walk down the street a half mile.
Right.
It's just a few hundred feet, and you're.
And you're in the middle of all the action. The brew pub, the award-winning brew pub,
Yeah.
that's actually voted 3rd year in a row as the #1 brew pub in the state.
Yeah.
It's literally, I can throw a rock, just about. After a couple of beers, I probably could throw the rock out there. But anyway, the fact is, it's right down the street. The bakery and breakfast restaurant right down the street. The art gallery right down the street. Literally, you would not get in your car. You would walk to those things. They're that close.
Yeah.
And so having all that, having Lancaster in the palm of your hand, connecting to a property that had a great history with snow machining, and to really reemphasize what you said, this is where it started.
That's true.
Exactly.
This is where it started,
Yeah.
and
And I think we need
yeah.
to reclaim that.
Yeah.
The same way we're trying to reclaim this motel.
Sure.
I think we need to reclaim that history. I think it's gone out into the world, and we're sort of forgotten.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see us, back on the map for that again.
Yeah, and people connect their memories to this, and it's a way to reconnect their memories
Right,
and
right.
keep it alive. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Absolutely, that's
Exactly.
right. And so that's what we're trying to do with this motel in general.
Yeah.
But this is one important aspect of it that we can tap into and relight that history, which is fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. And I'm sure it's well received because all the memories and history here is just everyone loves
Yeah,
it.
you
know?
notice that when
If
we
you were part of it,
experience
it. Right.
it's a fire that continues to burn in your mind.
And they did
Yeah.
have a vintage snowmobile race here this past winter, and maybe that's something that we can start doing, being known for these types of vintage
Yeah,
races.
being in the loop on
or-
that, associated
Yeah,
with
and
it.
we had the
want to
Grand
do
Prix. We could bring the Grand Prix back. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many dedicated people. We just need to figure out how to get everybody together on the same page so that we can all benefit in our community.
Right.
You can start seeing some economic energy from it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of the motel, I mean, our effort has been well received in the community. This was an important property for the community for years.
Yeah.
And it was somewhat disconnected in the last 10, 15 years to circumstance. But now,
Yeah.
as we reconnect to the community, we have a tremendous support, which is actually almost emotional for me.
Yeah.
These people being my neighbors, have come out and helped us in many ways and support us. And so you've got a property with new floors, new mattresses, new cable, new TVs, new Wi-Fi. And so these are things that make this a comfortable stay. You're not going to get French soap or anything.
Sure.
But it's a great stay for a snow machine weekend.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
All the modern things you would want.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right, with
Absolutely.
media bar.
That's right, the
all
media
that.
bar, and you saw the actual bar coming back to life.
Yeah.
Maybe a month or two,
Right.
and then you can, I guess, sort of embellish your stories with a little bit of fuel.
Absolutely.
In
The stories flow better after a couple.
They
Yeah.
do, that's right. Very good.
Fish gets bigger.
Yeah, the fish gets bigger, exactly.
Very good. Ice fishing gets.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's pretty much what we're about.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Yeah, I appreciate it.